Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum to everyone who may be passing by and chancing upon this video. In this video, I'm going to be continuing to look at some of the ahadith in Hasan ibn Fadhl Tabarsi's Mishkat al-Anwar. Hasan ibn Fadhl ibn Hasan Tabarsi, who could also be called Tafreshi, hailing from Tafresh in Iran in the 12th century, compiled a collection of narrations or prophetic ahadith called Mishkat al-Anwar fi Ghurar al-Akhbar, the lamp niche for the best traditions. This is a collection of ahadith which is divided into different sections according to different subjects. Hasan ibn Fadhl Tabarsi narrates from previous hadith collections, such as Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Khalid al-Barqi's al-Mahasin, or the virtues, and also Muhammad al-Fattal Nayshapuri's Rawdah al-Wa'adin wa Basirat al-Muta'adhin, the garden of the admonishers and the enlightenment of the admonished. In the previous video, I looked at some narrations from Section 1, Chapter 1 on Tawheed, or the belief in the oneness of God. And in this video, I'm going to be looking at the subject of sincerity, or Ikhlas, in Section 1, Chapter 2 of Tabarsi's Mishkat al-Anwar. Ikhlas is a very important subject in Islam. It means sincerity, and it's considered, according to the Qur'an and also to the prophetic narrations, that in order to be a true believer, one must have sincerity. One must have sincerity towards God, towards the Prophet and his family, and also to the believers. One must be a sincere and honest person. You have to be on the inside what you are on the outside. And there is a whole science that is related to the subject of sincerity, or Ikhlas, but today we're just going to look at a couple of narrations and also a verse from the Holy Qur'an to see how the Holy Qur'an uses the word Ikhlas. So let's look at the first narration. So Hasan ibn Fadhl Tabarsi writes in his Mishkat al-Anwar, it is narrated in Rawdah al-Wa'adin that the noble Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, everything has a true reality, and the servant does not reach the true reality of sincerity until he does not like being praised for anything that he does for God. Inna likulli haqqin haqiqa wa ma balagha abdun haqqa haqiqati al-ikhlas hatta la yuhibbu an yuhmada ala shay'in min amal Allah. This is a beautiful narration because it's speaking about the true essence and reality of everything that exists. The true essence and reality of existence, the true essence and reality of what it is to be a human being, and the true essence and reality of what it is to have ikhlas, what it is to be sincere. And we often find in the Quran and a hadith that there's a lot of human psychology that is being explained to us. So this sample narration here is really opening up the psychology of the human being who has ikhlas, who has sincerity. If he's doing something for the sake of God, then he doesn't feel comfortable when he's being praised by a human being for that action. And the reason why he doesn't like being praised by a human being for an action that he does for God is that he fears that maybe it might affect his ego. And if his ego, his nafs, starts to feel pleased with the praise from a human being, then that can lead to a lack of sincerity in his actions towards God. It is recommended in Islam that when you are about to take an action, that you observe the niyyah, the intention with which you take that action. In Nahj al-Balagha, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, peace be upon him, says that on the Day of Judgment, our intentions will be weighed. So intentions are also considered as some kind of action. Therefore, having the right and sincere intention when we take an action is of fundamental importance if one is to be a true abd, a true servant of the divine. So again, Hasan ibn Fadhl Tabarsi writes in his Mishkat al-Anwar, it is narrated in Rawdah al-Wa'adin that Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam, peace be upon him, the sixth Imam, said, Allah said, I am the best partner of all who partner with me in carrying out his deeds. I only accept he who is sincere to me. So this type of narration is called a hadith Qudsi, or a sacred hadith, in which there is a quote from God or a message from God that is not included in the Qur'an. And we can see in the Arabic that it says, أنا خير الشريك من أشرك معي في عمل عمله لا أقبله إلا ما كان لي خالصا. I only accept the one who is sincere towards me. Now you may notice that in this narration is the word sharik, partner. And Islam teaches that the only sin that is not forgiven by Allah is to set up partners with him. And setting up partners with him is called shirk. That is when you consider that something else that you appeal to has an independent power to help you. You are allowed to ask something else for help. For example, if you are ill, you seek help from a doctor. If you are lost, you seek help from someone who's on the road. But you do so with the understanding that any help that does come to you does so with the permission of the Creator, with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what is meant in this narration, where it says, Ana khayru sharik, I am the best partner. It doesn't mean that Allah considers himself in this narration to be the equal of the human being, or that the human being is equal to Allah. But what it means is that if you are going to rely on something for help and assistance in your endeavors, then the best entity to rely upon in your endeavors is that of the divine creator, who is the source of all power. And in order to obtain that assistance from the divine, one must be sincere. You have to have Ikhlas, or you have to be khalis. You have to be sincere towards the divine. And so now let's just look at a narration from the Holy Quran where it uses the word Ikhlas. And this is chapter 98, verse 5, where it says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وما أمروا إلا ليعبدوا الله مخلصين له الدين حنفاء ويقيموا الصلاة ويؤتوا الزكاة وذلك دين القيمة. صدق الله العلي العظيم. So you can see here that it uses the word ikhlas, but in the form of making one's intention sincere towards him, or being sincere towards him. Mukhlis, mukhlasina lahuddin. One of the things that I liked about the Quran when I started to read it just before I converted was that it does acknowledge the existence of hypocrisy. Coming from a late Christian tradition in the West, which had been rejected largely because of people's dislike of the hypocrisy that they saw in the church and being practiced by people claiming to be good Christians. In modern day Europe, there is often a visceral dislike of religion because of what has been observed of hypocrisy being carried out in the name of that religion. But the Quran actually acknowledges that there are hypocrites and that there is hypocrisy and that deeds can be carried out in a hypocritical fashion. And the Quran shows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is fully aware of those who hide hypocrisy in their hearts. And this is why we see in the Quran so many ayahs or signs or verses that talk about the importance of sincerity. Likewise, we also see in the hadith collections prophetic narrations transmitted by the progeny of the Holy Prophet, such as Imam al-Barqi, the fifth Imam, or Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, the sixth Imam, also teaching the importance of ikhlas or sincerity in one's practice. So I hope that this was helpful, and inshallah I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.